People, deluded, I'm back again. Now, obviously, I'm a fan. Listen, I can't tell other Arsenal fans or fans of any club not to panic, because the truth is, if I don't think panicking solves anything, because whether you panic or what, you don't control anything at the club in relation to transfers or anything. Technically, we don't know what the club is doing. So on one hand, like I'm about to get into, I'm very concerned that we ain't addressed every area or like made a proper attempt to at least got to a region of, let's say, 70%, not that I was good at maths, in fixing these areas we need to fix this summer if we want a chance of top four, and to give Arteta a bit of a push to do what he needs to do, not just this season but ongoing and building what we need to build. Like I said, I don't know unless you're Edu or Edu's family or any people close to Arteta, Edu, or incoming players and outgoing players, we don't know what the club is going to do. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Unless you're in those positions, you don't know what the club is doing. You don't know what meetings they're taking place. We don't know. So while I think silence is kind of scary, silence could assume, stuff is going on. That being said, and like I said, I cut the club that courtesy. It's concerning. It is concerning. Like, I don't feel just because your club ain't signed man early doesn't mean you're not going to do good business. But I think in an ideal world, you get the core part of your business done. And the club might say that was with getting Gabriel and bringing in Willian. But I would have liked to have seen, you bring in Gabriel, you bring in Willian if that's who you want. You address the areas we need to address in midfield very early. Arteta has longer to coach these players and do what he needs to do with these players, especially with this was an unusual pre-season. And then obviously you're in the market for, if there's a bit of money spare, if there's a player that's better than what you have in congested areas, then you may be pushing things. But get the bread and butter things done early, then try and target caviar. We haven't done that. Most fans, we knew you weren't going to get everybody out of this club and everybody in. All of that wasn't going to happen, because Arsenal wouldn't do that. It wouldn't necessarily be the smartest of things, even though I agree it wouldn't be the baddest of things. And because we've got average players on high wages and this market, I say this market, you're seeing some mad business being done, it was going to be tough. But it's another season for me with uncertainties over too many players. Now, for me, I cut the club some courtesy again. Bukayo Saka and Aubameyang, those contracts were crucial. For obvious reasons, they're two of our best players, but they're at different ends of their futures. Careers. Saka's best years are in front of him, He's a young man, and fair enough, let's not forget, regardless of where Arsenal are at this moment in time, he was 17, 18, playing first team football week in, week out. That's a privilege for any footballer playing in the league. Let's not lose ourselves and act like we owe anybody a favour at this football club. But at the same time, if he didn't want to sign a new deal, considering that young players get opportunities, what does that say about Arsenal? Because he would think that he don't think this is the best place for his development, That's scary. And Aubameyang, now many people might question Aubameyang and say you could have won trophies elsewhere, and that might be true. But for one reason or whatever, he's committed his future here. So two men at different stages of their careers have chosen to stay here. That's the two contracts I wanted done, yeah? And I can't complain. But at the same time, and granted, with exception of, I'd say, Torreira, the players that are linked with moves away and whatnot, they're not really key man like that, excluding Guendouzi to a degree also. You've got Socrates. Fair enough, Mustafi got a look in. You've got Kolasinac, you got bare man that are just average man, and they're not poor players in isolation, but when they're collective, it's not good enough, is it really? And we need to move these players on if we want to do anything really. You're hearing Torreira's got 1 foot out the door. Can we get a move on with that? Kolasinac is linked. There's too much uncertainty over several players of this side. You've got El Nene, you've got Kolasinac, you've got Chambers, you've got Mustafi, you've got Socrates, you've got bare man. And I know we wasn't going to move them all on, but can we move someone? Clearly people don't really want to see them as swap deals. Clearly people probably don't want them. I know Socrates has an agreement with Napoli allegedly, but we needed to probably push that. And this was a season you'd have to push. Force the issue in moving players on, because with a reception to them, equally as bad players or even worse are getting moves. So force that. And in relation to incoming players, of course, with COVID and Arsenal's financial problems documented anyways, and the owner showing no intention of putting money in, we knew it's a tricky summer we'd have to be creative, and like Arteta said, we'd have to plan for several scenarios. But that being said, we're in a competitive business. The world doesn't care about Arsenal's saying that. You know, I'm not saying we're going to get to Liverpool standard overnight. We're not, you know, because they're in a position where they recycled money, but Alisson and Van Dijk came in for big money. There were some smart purchases. You know, Salah and Mane, people would have turned up their noses to them two players at one point. Look at them. You know, Trent's come from the academy, you know. How much money has he saved them in that right back spot? So they've been, you know, Klopp knows what he's doing. They've been, you know, had time to mould the squad, bring in players, be smart with transfers and the rest of it. And Arteta's showing me a bit of that. But at the same time, you have to push the boat and probably force the issue a bit, man. You know, the gaps are going to keep, like, we're not going to get to Liverpool standard, but the gaps are going to keep opening. You know, even if you do sign Partey and Arrow, we're still a long way off. But the gaps, for me, that shows fans that you're closing the gap. If not those two players, those two areas, the gap is too big, you know. They've just brought in Thiago. On top of just being better than us in several aspects, you know. City, you know how City are. We're just going to keep fading away, you know. The beauty of this league is that it's going to soon be like, again, it might not be the best example because I don't watch NBA like that, but NBA, you know, I watch NBA, but I don't know about it. To definitely not to make YouTube vids. But I'm sure NBA or them sort of sports there's a kind of, it's a sort of, because how do I make it make sense? Like any team can, within reason, any team kind of has a chance of winning. Again, NBA fans get onto me if I'm chatting crap. And the Premier League is getting like that. Now, we know it's Liverpool, City likely to be that. But you're hearing Everton trying to make their squad. Wolves are trying to do their thing. You know, all the Spurs were once upon a time not in top 4 shouts. They've come and been our real noisy neighbours down the lane. Everybody's trying to be that team, you know. Everybody's trying to bully everybody. Leicester doing their thing. And we're just going to keep looking away. You know, I believe in Arteta and Edu, but this is a season for pushing. Push the boat with outgoings. Push the boat with incomings, you know. Force the issue. Force the issue. Whether you have to get a player to say he wants to leave, whether you have to promise an extra few bob, like you would expect for the signings of people like Aouar. Force it, because the gap is going to get bigger. And I know it's difficult for the club and easier said than done with our fail to participate in the Champions League. But that should serve as a lesson. You know, you take care of what you need to do on the field. Off field takes care of itself, and negatively vice versa. If we was getting the results on the field, we'd be in the Champions League, and off the field our money would be in the green. Off the field we failed to replace areas, you know, Gilberto Silva, and even at centre half until now we haven't done any of that. You know, that has correlated to us failing on the field, which, you know, comes back like a boomerang. Comes back. You know, you have a poor squad, you don't get European qualification, you get less P's. They're too intercept. So we're playing catch up. So people need to force it. People need to scream ambition. People, like I said, like Arteta said, earlier this year, you are not in the Champions League, and because you're not in the Champions League, you say, okay, I don't invest because I don't have the financial ability to do it. But the other clubs invest and the gap gets bigger. So, you know, you need to force it. You know, whether that's putting down the money on these players, you know, giving them what they want for Partey, giving them what they want for our world, being downright well creative with finding the next stars of tomorrow to help bridge the gap, because it's sad. For me, listen, I would have liked to have seen the business done early, because it would have given Arteta more time to work with players, and because these players have still got to adapt. Now, the adapt thing don't really make sense for me all the time, because at the end of the day, it's playing football, and you can't judge every player on this. But, you know, Thiago's looked like he's played for Liverpool his whole life, you know. It's a game of football. It's hardly rocket science, you know. It might be a different country, different league, different teammates, but you're still kicking a football around, you know. Do you leave certain skills in Germany or Spain when you come here? So again, I have to consider that. But at the same time, man need time to adapt, as you lot know. There's many circumstances off the field that can affect your game. There's many variables to factor on the field that can affect your game. So the longer you take, the more they're going to need time to adapt. Obviously, again, and this point, I want you to bear in mind what I said about the club doing things behind the scenes and that we don't know about. But to the fans' perception, it's like we're doing nothing. All our eggs are firmly in Partey and Aouar's baskets, and that don't look likely. So people, I guess what I'm getting at is we look a bit desperate. Think about it, people. Business proposition now. If Arsenal are coming to buy players from you, and we're in the last 2 weeks, Aouar and Thing are no match, but they come to your club and say, we want your defensive mid or your centre mid, you're going to say, well, how much you got? That 25 million might turn to 35. Say, alright, cool, if you don't want him, F off. We keep our player. We know we're going to sell him for a change, if not this window or next one, you know, or we got a player that can help us. You don't have that area fixed that you want to fix, so we could be possibly held to ransom because people know our positions. It's a bit different because it's outgoings, but did it harm us to so publicly make out that we want Guendouzi gone? Did that harm us, you know, for any other reasons? So it's a difficult one, but You need to push it in the same way that Arteta's pushing the boundaries and whatnot. We need to see it pushed off the field. You know, I hope there's plan B, C, D, E, F targets in mind if you can't get Aouar and Partey, because you know we all know that watch football, Partey would improve Arsenal and he's a baller. They know the same with Aouar, but this is professional football. This isn't just like fans saying, I want this guy, I want that guy. They're looking at man for months. They're getting different scouting reports for months. They're having their A target. Then they're finding man that are similar. And we talk about using stat DNA properly. I don't know if it was stat DNA, but didn't Mislintat say he was looking for someone loosely like either Partey or someone, and Torreira came up? So can we do that sort of thing? Might not get Partey, but can you get the next Ghanaian centre mid that's going to be him? Or someone playing in Belgium that's levels? Because obviously, we all want star names. You know, Partey, Aouar, it looks gassed, people. It looks gassed in the team. It gasses up the fans. It makes us think, yo, we're doing things. You know, it gives us something to talk about when you're seeing Chelsea signing these guys and Bale's going back to Spurs and Thiago at Liverpool and the rest of it. It gives us something to gas up. But at the same time, it's just football. I'd rather, as much as I want star players, I want people that can address these areas. Every star had to become a star one day, but if you can find someone from the Belgian third division that adds athleticism and tenacity into our midfield, or you can find some player playing in Zimbabwe that's one of the best creative midfielders potentially, you know, go and do that. You know, I don't care where you sign players from, as long as they're confident in their abilities, because, you know, there's going to be tough moments at this club. I hate seeing players curl into a ball. Mistakes happen, defeats happen, setbacks happen. Get up and get on with it. You know, you try 10 passes, it works. The one time it doesn't, you're looking down. You don't need that. We need every top 6 team, I know we're not, should aspire to have confident players, you know. Do you think all the highlights look well for Thierry Henry, but, you know, Thierry Henry had confidence in his abilities and he obviously had a manager. It took him 11 games to bag for this club. But somewhere down the line, when it wasn't going well for that man or whatever, he might have questioned his ability. But deep down, he had some sort of faith, and there's many other examples. So we need people like that, in my opinion. Of course, you need competency, you know. It sounds dumb, but Arsenal signed a lot of defenders in many years who can't defend. So whatever their role is, can they do it, and can they do it consistently? I don't care for 10 out of 10 one week, 2 out of 10 the other week. I want a base level of performance and a high level like that, if that can be done, you know. So are they confident? Are they consistent? Are they competent? Sorry, are they confident and are they competent? And are they consistent? Like I just alluded to, people. There's no point, you know. You got to be. Can you do your job in defence? And can you give me, if we got 2 games in a week, you know, we might have Chelsea on Sunday and a midweek clash against you. Can you lock it down? That's what we need. And time will tell. You know, I don't believe too much in our top 4 shouts. My thing is, you know, I think we regardless of we sign, man, with Arteta, we should put in more of a fight for it. What fight means is subjective. You know, I just want to see that we're in a bit more of mathematically, it's a bit more possible. We're in a bit more of the debate when it became Leicester, Chelsea and United. Arsenal were out of that, you know, time ago. I have more faith in Arteta's ability to do that. But getting over the line, I think without a couple of signings, we fall short. And I would love to be wrong, you know. I'd love to sit here if we don't bring a signing in and say, oh, DG, you was tweaking in that vid a year ago. And we got top 4, we won Europa League and things. But I'm never going to lie to you guys about how I'm feeling. I've been saying it. You bring in 2 centre mids, you bring in 2 centre halves, you let Arteta do his thing. I have all confidence in the world. You don't do that. I'm looking at this a bit mad still, so we'll have to see, man. The one thing I'll give credit to the club, though, Mertesacker and them, man, their academy level, they're doing a good job with sending people out on loan and facilitating that and bringing in players that we need at 23's level for the season and the rest of it, people. So let's see, man. But like Arteta said, the gap becomes bigger and bigger. You know, we're not going to close the gap over Liverpool overnight, but I must admit, as much as I love my football club and I've got admiration for Arteta, listen, I'm not saying I'm jealous of these clubs, but every club should have ambition, should scream, you know, you're trying to do something. When I look at Leicester, I see what they're on. When I look at Wolves, I see what they're on relative to what their club is. You know, Sheffield United, they're not going to win the Champions League or the Premier League, but whatever they're trying to do in the Prem, I see what they're on. You know, it might be too early for Everton, but they've got Carlo Ancelotti. The last 2 games, they've won it. I see what they're trying to do. I don't really see what Arsenal is trying to do. I know a team that would like to be in the top 4 and would like to be doing these things, but is that just a wish, or is that a goal that we're evidently hungry for? That every time we're not there, we're going crazier every day. Is it top 4 or die and do things bigger than top 4 or die at this club? I don't necessarily believe it is right now, because we wouldn't do certain things and we would do certain things. But let's see how it is, man. I'm here preaching for too long, man. Let me get out of here, man. People, deluded. I'm out. Thank you for watching and rocking as usual.